Trippy is en route, so but we're going to get started without him. And so my first guest is Sherry Dorsey Walker, who is running for Lieutenant Governor. She was supposed to have Sherry's segment, but because of the way things are going, we're going to go to Sherry.
This works
How
well.
are you?
This just works just fine
Okay.
with me. I'm doing well. How are you, future councilwoman?
You know what? In spite of all that I've gone through this weekend, I am wonderful.
Well, you're wonderful, Wayna.
Exactly.
Yes.
So,
yes.
yeah. Yep.
So you know what I would like to discuss today?
What's that?
Some of these election laws. I'm not sure that the general public is aware of the fact that in 2005, the General Assembly passed a law that if your sign is in the right of way in the state, that the Department of Transportation will actually confiscate your sign. And if it sits for a long time, your first violation I think is $15, the next one is $25. And everybody knows that we run against such honest people. So people take your signs and what's to stop someone from taking your sign, putting it in the right of way, and then you get the violation. So what I'm going to ask is whoever is taking the signs and putting them in the right of way and causing me to get these civil citations, I'm just going to ask you, would you please stop? Because each time that's $15 or $25 or $50 that comes out of my pocket, that's money that I can be using to help children in my district get school supplies, but not just my district, children throughout the state. We have children that are in need. We have people who are homeless. That's money that I can be using to help the actual community. So I'm just going to ask you if you would just please stop that. I'm going to also ask you to please leave other people's properties alone. I'm saying that because what transpired with Wayna is utterly ridiculous. Her car should have never been stolen, and her belongings should have never been touched.
You didn't even let me tell my story.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead, tell your story. But that just burns me up that people are doing these things.
It's fine. It's all good. I don't know why I'm like, I just have this peace.
Well, you should.
So what happened was I woke up this morning to go to church. I clicked my starter so that it'd be cool when I got in the car.
Absolutely.
I went outside, and lo and behold, my car was stolen. So I had my signs in there and my t-shirts. I just came back in the house, called the police. They did a report. Thank God my car was found. However, it's not operable because they took the fuse box and took all the wires and stuff out of it and just kind of destroyed the inside of the car. But when it happened, I didn't get upset. I just kept on smiling. And what I ended up doing is after I finished going back and forth with the Wilmington Police Department, which I want to thank them so very much because they located my car.
That's wonderful.
So
that's blessed.
Yeah. So I mean, it could have been worse.
Right.
So it is what it is.
But thank the Lord that your car was recovered. However, the things that you were using to campaign were stolen. That's not a coincidence. Just all of a sudden your car was stolen. So what I'm going to ask people to do is just stop this foolishness, this politicking. And if you have to steal to win, I guess you really do need to do that in order to win. But understand that greater is he that's within us than he that's within the world. So we don't even have to play those kinds of games, future councilwoman.
Right. But you know what? It kind of fueled me to definitely want to serve on council.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It drives you to want to serve
even the
more.
greater. Yes.
That's right.
Yes, most definitely.
That's right. But then you know that you're always coming under attack when you were doing the work for the kingdom. And so when you're kingdom building through education, criminal justice, job creation, and environmental justice, you find yourself under attack on a regular basis. You find yourself under attack when you are on the right side of a fight, and then other people want to join that right side of the fight too. But it's interesting because
I try to get you to go over to the other side.
Absolutely.
I'm not doing that.
But I hear there are people, like for instance, people who voted twice against the death penalty. And then those same individuals now are seeking votes in our community. So they will say, I have evolved. Well, there's always an evolution when there's a revolution. When you find out that almost 68% of Delawareans are for the abolition of the death penalty, definitely you will evolve in your thinking. But it's so interesting through these evolutions. When you take special interest money, then you must pander to the special interest. Hence why people like myself and like you, one of the things we've done is we've allowed the people of God to fund our campaign, because those are the people to whom we shall be beholden upon rising.
All right, Reverend.
You know, I'm on fire.
I know you are.
Jeremiah said it's
I
like
love
fire.
it. I love
But
it.
on fire in a good way, not in an angry way, but in a good way such that we can show people you can kingdom build and still win.
Right.
You can still win without having to steal signs. You can still win without having to steal individuals' cars that has their belongings in it for their campaign. People know that we don't have all that kind of money. They know that. And so we are very frugal with the things that we need to do as we're kingdom building. But other individuals, they have access to all those
Right.
funds.
I was more upset. I had 3 bags of clothing in there, some with tags on them that I was giving to someone.
My gosh.
So I'm more upset about
Absolutely.
the clothing being taken more so than I am my signs, because
Absolutely.
yard signs don't vote, people vote,
People
but
vote.
it is I mean, it's just the principle about the whole thing. But
Right.
it's
Which is
all
utterly
good.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
But we didn't come here to talk about the negativity. We came to talk about how the Lord will use us to make a difference in our communities. And you have been in the good fight as far as education from day one. You've been in the good fight regarding criminal justice reform as it pertains to environmental justice, because a lot of times we think about the air, the land, and the water, and those are all very important. But we don't talk about the vacant properties that our babies see
That's
when they
right.
wake up every day.
Right.
And you've been in that good fight along with me. And I just wanted to personally say thank you.
Aw.
Because, and then as far as job creation, you've been in the forefront regarding the port expansion. So people need to know the things that you're doing. You're a very humble servant, and I'm grateful for that. But I'd like for the public to know that you have been in the good fight all along from day one, since I joined the fight. And so I thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
So let's real quickly, in 2 minutes, let's talk about your campaign. How's it going, and how can people help you?
I actually enjoy the campaign trail. I love being around people. I love hearing what the issues are, addressing the issues. And the main thing is listening to people and understanding that we may not always agree on everything, but we can do things amicably and we can agree to disagree, but we can still get things done. Where I am right now in this journey is, I don't care if it's a D behind your name or an R. Let's just work together, because together we win.
Right.
The people benefit when we work together, and that's my whole motto. Let's just do this together. We have so many good people running for office. We have some people who have some challenges, but we have some people who are really good individuals. And it's important that we get the message out that no, we don't have a whole lot of money, but what people can do, they can volunteer for our campaigns. They can make telephone calls for us. They can help us knock doors, and they can tell all their family members to vote for Sherry Dorsey Walker for Lieutenant Governor. Praise the Lord.
That's good. You mentioned everybody kind of coming together. That's
Yes.
one of the reasons why I decided to run for at-large,
That's good.
because I want to be able to unify all of the districts so that the same resources that other districts have, we can share them with some. Because I found out that there are some things that happen in other communities that some communities don't even know that they're privileged to. So
Absolutely.
going to definitely change that up. So.
Right, because many of the constituencies aren't even aware of the NPC, the Neighborhood Planning Council, and the funds that come
That's
through.
exactly what I'm talking about.
I knew that's what you were
Yes, that's
referencing. My
exactly what
spirit
I'm
told me
talking
that.
about.
But
Yeah.
yes, it's important because those funds are used to beautify your community, and those are projects that could be taking place. But if the community doesn't know those funds are
That's
available,
right.
then they don't have access, and they don't have access.
Right.
And it's so important that we get people in office who will share the information, not hold it and keep it in their heart and make sure just the people who help their campaign benefit. All people should benefit.
That's right.
And that's why running for Lieutenant Governor, everybody will benefit upon me becoming Lieutenant Governor. I won't be just the African American Lieutenant Governor. I'll be the Lieutenant Governor for all people. And finally, we'll have people in office who will care about everyone, not just one community. Now let's be real. I am African American, and I love being who I am. I love the skin that I'm in, and I thank God for it. But I also understand that there are issues with the Irish community, the Polish community, and the Italian community, that we can all work together and make a huge difference. This is a melting pot. This nation is a melting pot. This state is a melting pot. But we have too many people that want to separate instead of coming together. Now we need to respect each other's differences and each other's cultures. But we could be working together to make a huge difference. We came together for the abolition of the death penalty. We're coming together for HB 85, which is House Bill 85 regarding the schoolhouse to jailhouse. And there's so many other things that we can be coming together regarding climate change. Making sure we have clean water in our state. That doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. That's a public servant.
Very good. I'm going to have to end Sherry's segment.
Well, okay.
But just so everyone knows that Mr. and Mrs. Congo have invited Sherry to come down every Sunday until September the 13th, well actually September the 11th, to have her own segment called Sherry's Segment. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Before I go into our next interview, I'm going to go over to Studio C for T. Warren to give a PSA announcement.
Hello all, how y'all doing? My name of course is T. Warren. I'm doing anchor work here at the Congo Hour. I'm here to announce and let you know about the 8th anniversary pool party barbecue sponsored by BVD Barber Salon. We're going to be at Dunleaf Park this Sunday coming up, the 21st, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's a free, no charge barbecue for the community. We have a kickball tournament with trophies and prizes. There is bus transportation provided by Sean Allen and Sean Grinswell. The bus will be leaving BVD at 11:45 sharp. Come on out, have a fun time. Pool, kickball, football, basketball, everything is provided. On the flip side of this, our 8th annual back to school week, $5. Yes, $5 haircuts for children 15 and under. Regular haircuts, come on out to our 8th annual pool party at Dunleaf Park, 1 p.m. Sunday. See you there. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you, T. Warren. All right, so as you know, we have invited all candidates that are running for any office whatsoever to call me and get on the show. So this evening, I have a special guest, and that is Mr. Mike Brzezinski. Welcome to the Congo Hour.
How are you? Thank you.
Good. This your,
all these years, I've never been on.
I was going to say, this is your first time ever being on here?
It really is.
Okay, well, welcome for your first time.
Thank
Hopefully you'll be okay for your first time. So tell me a little bit about who you are.
Well, not to take up too much time, but I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. So I'm a city guy, and I came to Delaware to go to the University of Delaware. I got a football scholarship to play here many years ago. I had a brief 1 year until I got hurt playing with the New York Giants, so I was good enough to get up to that level. And when I came back, I was in the real estate business. I went to law school at night. I practiced law for 10 years. I was a Newcastle County councilman for 9 years. I was Senate attorney for several years back in the 80s before you were born.
And okay, we'll stick with that. Okay.
And then I had a long business career. I've been in the building business, the apartment building business. I built residential development, marinas, golf courses, a variety of things, which I think really prepared me to deal with the big project of my life, which is the riverfront. And that was a wonderful experience for me to take something that was just a vision of Russ Peterson and I think largely Tom Carper early on and members of the General Assembly, but there were a lot of people that did not believe it could be what it's become. The other thing I did, which I am so proud of, is my association with the Hope Commission and the work we did with the Achievement Center that we built over on Vandiver Avenue in cooperation with the brothers of Kappa Alpha Psi. And so we have, I've done a lot of things in my life that are, I've got a wife and 3 children.
So I was going to say, don't forget about your family.
No, I've got a wonderful family, and so I've got a 14-year-old that that's the center of our life, that we spend a lot of, as you do when you've got a 14-year-old, you know, I mean, that's, there's a lot of energy that goes into raising children. So That's who I am.
Okay. What made you decide to run for mayor?
Well, you know, when you have been so integrally involved in the city itself through work with the Hope Commission and with the riverfront, and feeling so proud of the progress that we've made in both areas, to watch the city slide backwards as it has, and in a manner where the public is truly troubled about its confidence in the future, I just felt called to do this. And I'm not a young man, so for me this is a very big commitment.
Right.
I know I look young, but I'm not so young. No, but the truth is, you know, you just feel called to do certain things in your life, and that's how it's been with me in this work. It's taking a year out of your life to run. And it's an exhausting experience. I think it's a marvelously rewarding experience, but it's very difficult. Difficult on me, difficult on the family, and then it's a 4-year commitment at least to really take on a really tough job. But if you believe deeply enough in it, you know, I don't think it's something you feel very compelled to do. That's how I feel.
I believe on the last show, Ivan asked this question, but I'm going to ask for the viewers who may not have seen the earlier show, is what do you plan on doing if you win your first 90 days?
Well, I think, to me, the great assets of our city are the neighborhoods, and it's the neighborhoods that have been so neglected for far too long. And I think everybody felt that the neighborhoods would just fix themselves given enough time. And the truth is that has not happened. And when you go and you knock doors, as I have all over the city, and you see the way some neighborhoods have declined, you realize that we have to build capacity in our neighborhoods. We have to help people help themselves. But it's just too much to ask for people who live in so much poverty, in communities that are so imperiled by violence and other, and sadly, in certain dysfunction, that to say here, fix it yourself, that's just not fair. And furthermore, we can't have police do it. You can't look to police to fix it. All you do with police, figuratively, is to put out fires. But you can't. Policemen don't stop crime. I mean, policemen go. They go at it. And so for us. So my attitude for virtually everything is we're going to build our community. We're not going to be thinking of this as a crime scene and every solution as a criminal issue. We're going to start thinking about how you build your community the same way we built the riverfront. So the first thing we want to do is have an economic growth strategy and prioritize where you can be most effective in building communities. So if you try to do everything, you'll do nothing. So you have to go to the neighborhoods that are most receptive to your help. And then we have to put neighborhood stabilization units together, and that's police, license and inspections, public works, parks. And I would like to see, as part of that unit, some cooperative personnel from Health and Social Services. If we put all these things together, then this particular group is responsible. They are directly responsible for what goes on in that neighborhood. It's nobody else's fault, it's theirs. So if there are high weeds, if there's badly chipped paint, if there's falling down fences, somebody's got to be accountable for that. You have to have a team that is accountable for that. So they're also accountable for the great successes. You know, I think that it seems to me you have to have accountability, and the way to do that is to put together a team. So that would be one of the other things that I'd like to do. And then lastly, I want to really implement a community policing program that the public responds well to. Everybody tells me, I hear it from everybody, we just want to deal with the same officers. We don't want to have to explain to a brand new officer all the time where the problem houses are. And I think that would go a long way to getting people to feel good about the way the city operates.
Okay, and I think I have less than 60 seconds. A question that I'm sure everyone wants to know is, people are blaming you for Republicans switching over to Democrats. What do you say about that?
I don't know why that is a blame. That's so silly. Everybody tries to do it. Everybody tries to do it. It's been a time-honored practice. Every meeting I went to, people said, if you're a Republican, you're an independent, you can't vote, so why don't you do it? What they're mad about is that I did it well. It upsets them that I was able to do it well. And I would argue, I will do that well, I will run a campaign well, I'm going to win, and I will run the city well too.
Okay, so in 30 seconds, look into what camera, Dave? To this camera. Oh, The middle one or this one? Okay, the one to the far left. And tell the viewing audience why you feel they should vote for you. 30 seconds.
Well, I think if you listen to all of the candidates talk to you about what they can do for the city, everybody talks about police, everybody talks about cleaning City Hall, nobody talks about economic development. And you have to believe me when I tell you that the only solution to the problems of our city is for people in our communities to have jobs, for our city to attract businesses so we can pay our bills. We need economic vitality. All I've done my whole life is economic development. The work at the riverfront is great proof of what I can do, and it's the same thing I want to do in our city. And I hope you'll vote for me on September 13th. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for coming on to the show. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Going to take a break, and hopefully we're going to have Sammy's Corner. All right, so we are having Sammy's Corner, and so I'm going to let you, well, actually, I saw you last week, and you were endorsing Mayor Williams.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that. What made
Okay.
you endorse Mayor Williams?
Well, first of all, I don't see anything that he's done wrong. I think he could have done a lot better if he had all the support of people who were running against him now. It would have been so much more opportunity for him to get a heck of a lot done from all the people who say that they can do things today that didn't do anything yesterday.
Gotcha.
And so if we could gather those resources, if everybody backed off and said, okay, we're not going to run for mayor. The only thing we're interested in is this city. And if we said, Mayor Williams, how can I be helpful to you? And then I think that, you know, the key is not to pick out the negatives, but to find the positives. And if we know that as a team, there are no I's in team. So all these I's have come together and said that I am a team, and I's can never be a team. And I would hope that before the 13th, or the 11th, 13th of September, we would take a real look at ourselves and say, how can we build the team that's going to make this city the success that it needs to be? It's a great city. It's just big enough that we can take its ills and take those ills and get rid of them and move forward. I hear a lot of things that people say I can do, but that's easy. You know, where has it been proven that any of these folks have done well in this situation? You know, they asked the mayor to pull his bootstraps and get it done, but they gave him a pair of sandals. You know, how can you pull your bootstraps when you got a pair of sandals? You just can't do that. And I'm excited that, you know, I look at the mall. Since he's been here, it's been a better mall. I haven't heard of anybody saying they got their pocketbooks snatched and nobody can come out and have lunch. I've seen a lot of policemen there to get that down, but I think it's a different climate today than it was years ago. Well, I'm talking too much.
Okay.
These guys are the experts.
All right.
Well, I want to get in on this.
Go ahead.
And quite frankly, I felt like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do last week when I looked at the show, and there's Mr. Congo against Sam Guy, and it's a fight. And I am my mother's child. And her motto was, when you see a good fight, get in it. Well, I can't call myself being in a so-called leadership position in a matter of this importance, sit on the sideline. Let me be real clear. He ain't called me. I called him. And I wasn't nice. I said, I want to help you because this is bigger than what I think folks are looking at. You know, the folks who came before us, my father, I remember before he died, he wanted Jim Sills to be the mayor so bad. And I told Jim that. And our forefathers and the NAACP leadership worked tirelessly to get the first African mayor elected. And now, if we don't stand up, you don't have to go any further than right up the road 28 miles and see how the city of Philadelphia just gave the Republicans back the mayor's office. And so I just couldn't sit on the sidelines. And I think what happened with Dennis from the inception was just fundamentally unfair and flat out rotten. He hadn't said, "I, Dennis Williams," before the next mayor's race started. And I said here on this show many times, bashing Mayor Baker. Keith Booker called me and said, "It's wrong, the black mayor and the black councilman." I took that and I called him when they got in a fight about the budget, and I said, "Let me try to negotiate with you two, because this is terrible." He said to me, "He's running for mayor." I said, "Oh, Dennis, he's not doing that. He's running for mayor." Well, obviously, he was correct. I was wrong. Second, every time I've picked up the phone and I said, "Dennis, I want you to do something for children," such as suing to try to keep Moria open and stop that property, which is now vacant, from being vacant. I said, because nobody cares about those kids, and they're just destined for a whole lot of problems they shouldn't have to have unless we intervene. He didn't hesitate. He called the city solicitor right then. My case, right after the McDowell shooting, I'm sitting in his office that morning, the morning afterwards. I said, "Dennis, the door was left swinging wide open for this to happen in 2003 when the Wilmington police executed Harris Smith Jr. I'm going to file a federal complaint. This has to be stopped." He looked me in my face and he said, "You do what you have to do. I'm not going to duck anything. I'm not going to hide from anything. Whatever happens, happens." He didn't say, "Jay, get out of my office." He didn't say, "Jay, you can go pound sand," or worse. And he never shunned me, never turned his back on me. How many mayors would have somebody, a community activist, because I was a community activist before I got elected, I'm going to be a community activist when I'm no longer in office. How many would have tolerated that? But he knew, in my heart, I felt like I had something to do, and he knew as mayor, he was going to have to do what he had to do to make sure things was right and at the same time protect the city. But he didn't try to stop me from doing what I thought in my heart was right. I have so much respect for that, because anybody else would have told me to go pound sand or worse. I know for a fact, when he sat here last week and said, "I'm accessible," well, when all you know what broke loose, and you got citizens facing police with shotguns on Rodney Street in the middle of the night, the president of the NAACP picked up the phone and called him. He answered the phone, and he gave the directive to prevent what happened in Ferguson from happening here. And you can, folks can sit around and act like the Republican that's running is not a Republican.
Right.
But if you had 1,200 folks switch over for the sole purpose of getting you elected as mayor, who's going to be in charge of you? The Republicans.
That's right.
Who are you going to be accountable to? The Republicans. So you're a Republican. In my opinion, based on what I know, the only minority candidate that can stop the Republicans from taking this city back over is the incumbent, our mayor, Dennis P. Williams. And I think that I have a responsibility to say that I think he should be allowed to continue. I'm going to support him unequivocally, and whatever I can do to be helpful to him between now and September the 13th, I'm going to do. And finally, for right this minute, because I'm talking too much, but it's little things with me that count. Folks who are running against him have been in my center. They've come to meetings. They don't have a clue where the children in that building are located. He comes in, he visited every classroom, shook every teacher's hand. He walked in the one-year-old classroom, and the little boy ran across the room, jumped up in his arms like he knew him, and then he refused to let Dennis put him down. He ended up staying there longer than he had anticipated because the little boy wouldn't let him put him down. I'm not going to forget it. My staff's not going to forget it. And I haven't asked him for anything. Let me be real clear. I'm here for the sole purpose of supporting Dennis. Since he's been in office, I have not received one dime from Hilltop Lutheran Neighborhood Center, purposely and intentionally, from the city of Wilmington, either the administration or from council. I'm here because in my heart, I believe He's qualified. I think he's the best candidate. And I don't want the Republicans taking this city back over, because I remember what happened the last time we had a Republican mayor. And just like the governor of Wisconsin put the National Guard on the street today, I haven't forgot the way I was treated as a teenager when they had the National Guard on the street. And we stopped and they got us all out in the car. And why did you stop us? You didn't find no dope, you didn't find this, that, and that. Maybe it's the way you wear your hats. And nothing could be done about it. So now you have to put the Republicans in office if you want. And all our little children who walking down the street with their pants hung down and they got their long hair now, when they get stopped and frisked and worse, it's our fault because we refuse to follow the destiny that was intended for us as a primarily minority city, and that's to keep a person of color in that position. Why shouldn't black children in the city of Wilmington be allowed to have a black mayor? And which one of them, all the candidates, in my opinion, two of which are in collusion with the Republican to see to it that he and another candidate gets cut, because they're not running hard, they just want their names out there just enough to cut him and cut another candidate. It's flat out rotten, and as far as I'm concerned, the Flim Flam man has come forward, and we as a people who really care about the city have a responsibility to stop it. I'm sorry I talked too long.
It's okay. Donald, I know that everybody tunes into your Facebook page to see who you're endorsing. So obviously you're endorsing Mayor Williams since you're here.
I am, and took my time in doing so, right? I think we have the responsibility of being an educated electorate. So I took my time, talked with each candidate, all that would talk with me, and there are those that didn't want to talk with me. And here's what also I saw. I think Mr. Congo brought it up initially. Nobody knows what it's like to sit in that seat till you sit in the seat, right? So everybody has a whole lot to say, plans that they have, and then you sit in the seat and you determine something differently. I think Mayor Williams has done a great job with what he was given, and I think he has flat out earned another opportunity. Now, Mayor Williams and I don't agree on everything, right? And I think you have to be big boys and big girls about not agreeing on everything, but making sure that we do what is best for the city of Wilmington. And like Jay said, I haven't been promised anything. I too called Mayor Williams and let him know that I wanted to support his candidacy. He's already the mayor, and after you look at all of the debates that have taken place, what you will find is the lion's share of those individuals that are on the debate stage have not said anything that they would do differently. They're just mad at Dennis, right? So you're angry with him. He's doing exactly what you say you would want to do. So why change? If he is doing what everybody else said they're already going to do, then why make an adjustment? Give the man another 4 years. I think it was bananas, and I've told him that to say we're going to fix this in 6 months. I don't think anybody believed that, right? But he's apologized for that. I think that the last 4 years have been humbling, right? And I see a different Mayor Williams today than I did when we first elected him. And so I'm proud of him. I'm going to stand shoulder to shoulder with him. I'm going to do whatever I've got to do to make sure he's reelected because there are particular candidates that we just cannot afford. And if we get them, I think Chocolate America, Chocolate Wilmington's in trouble.
I want to say one more thing, and I was wrong. He wasn't in office very long. I'm with him, and he says to me, I want to do something about these schools. And I said, Dennis, Mayor Baker refused to take it the whole 9 yards and go past Christina because the governor had just given him $12 million. You've got to protect that money that you're getting from the state. Let me do this. Let's try to go through this legislative process. Here again, I was wrong. General Assembly's made it crystal clear. They're not going to do anything to do right by our children unless a judge or judges makes them do that. I know for a fact. He had the courage 3 years ago to go in and try to get some relief, and I know full well that he'll do what he has to do now to get that relief. Second, State Board, the Department of Education, without the State Board, is contemplating right now seeing to it that children cannot be represented in suspension and expulsion hearings unless they have lawyers. Well, that's to get rid of me. That's to get rid of Devin. And if they pass that, I know full well that I can go to him and say, these kids need legal representation. Do what you can do out of the city solicitor's office. And I know that that's going to happen. He's not going to let these kids just keep getting put out of school without any representation. So to me, it's just the right thing to do. And I listened to all the debates. Nobody said anything about the schools. Nobody said anything about kids. And I don't see where any of them have a plan to do anything any better than he's already doing. So I'm proud to be here with him tonight, and I'm going to be with him to September the 13th when he gets his second term.
And I think finally, two things. One is
He let you march without a permit. Let's talk about
he
that.
let me march without a permit. I think we have a moral responsibility to the least of these. And what I have seen in my times being around Mayor Williams is his concern and commitment to the least of these. Nobody talks about walk-in Wednesdays when anybody can come and get an answer to challenges that they are seeing. And then secondly, I think we don't always do a good job, which is the reason for which I'm here. I'm sure Jay is here, to be surrogates for the mayor. I'm not so sure that he always talks about all of the stuff he does and does well. So we have the tendency and propensity to focus on negative things, but he's doing a lot of good. And I think it's our responsibility to make sure that we highlight those things that he's doing well.
Okay.
Mayor, there's just one thing. I mean, there's a lot of things that I think that I call, and Wayne has heard this, and a lot of you heard this, is the inaccurate perception to the map of reality. And so many of us have gotten information that made us think wrong.
Right.
And so I would like to hear you, as you come on our show, clear up a lot of these issues that's inaccurate. And I've always been told, and we got 1 minute. In fact, we're 2 minutes over time. Okay. 1 minute, talk about the fact that you were not there at the time of that shooting. Everybody says that you ran and hid. I want to make it clear that
what shooting is that, Sammy?
Pardon?
Where
the boy in the wheelchair.
No, I didn't run to hide, Sammy. You know, you have a police investigation. The police do their thing, but I told my commanders the chips are going to fall where they may. Where this thing comes out, it is what it is. When the disturbance started that night and the police went back to the community, I told those police officers to put those shotguns down, get in their vehicle, and leave the area. Because I knew if the officers had a state position there, it would ignite it and the city probably would have blew up. I went back and met with the grandmother the day after the shooting, and the community was ready to erupt. Myself and Bobby Cummins, we walked right into the middle of the crowd. We stood there and we talked to the folks, and the grandmother knew me because she was raised on the north side just as well as I was. And I think if you hadn't had a homeboy mayor who came from Riverside Housing Projects, another young man who came from West Center City that was the chief of police, I think all hell would have broke loose in that community. And then that Sunday I went to the grandmother's house and sat down and had a conversation with her. So running and hiding, I don't run from anything, nothing at all, Sammy. And I'll tell you, the News Journal has painted a bad picture of me, just like Fox News has tried to destroy President Obama. You know, an African-American man, when he stands up and looks you in the eye, he's arrogant. When an African-American man uses the King's English, he's arrogant. When an African-American man doesn't shudder, when he goes in the room and he's the only black man in the room, I'm arrogant. If I raise my voice in a debate because I'm not going to do something that I think is wrong, I'm arrogant. And let's talk about the 1.5 million real quickly, and I'm going to be quiet.
We'll do it next week.
Next week.
All right.
I'm ready. You got me corking now.
Okay, thanks again for tuning in, and I can't even say goodbye. I'm just going to wave my hand and say, see you next week.
Well, actually, we're going to take a quick break and do our funeral announcement.
Okay.
All right.